Hi folks, just want to give you a quick tutorial on how I upload a large number of photos to iNaturalist to make a large number of observations using my PC. Normally I don't use the iNaturalist app on my phone in the field. I generally just take a lot of pictures on my phone, and then I have an iPhone. My photos get backed up to iCloud. I download those and then add them on my PC to iNaturalist. So first I'm going to show you how I add the photos to iNaturalist to make observations, and then later in this video I'll show you how I get my photos down from iCloud, which you might find useful. All right, so here you can see I've got a bunch of photos here. I've got 237 of them actually, from a trip I made out to Raccoon a little while ago. And I'm going to upload a number of these here. So I go to iNaturalist, my account, and you press the upload button here. And as it says, you can drag and drop photos or sounds. So what I'm going to do is select. Now you might be tempted to just select all 237 items and add them, but I wouldn't recommend that because it's going to tax the servers for one thing. I've tried it, and I can see that it's having a little bit of trouble. So I don't recommend that for that reason, but also you're going to get tired of uploading observations, and then you'll try and submit them, and they won't be tagged, because as you'll see, there's a little bit of a process for identifying them. So don't do that. So what I'm going to do is select a number of these, say up to here, by clicking this one, and then shift clicking down to the one that I want to add. And then I'm just going to drag and drop these 35 images over here. So what'll happen is it thinks every photo is a separate observation, so it thinks there are 35 observations. But I know that some of these are the same observations. So for example, these three images are, and this one as well actually, are all the same tree. So I'm going to want to combine these photos into observations. And the way that you do that is simply by dragging and dropping. So first, I'm going to make this a little bit larger by doing Control plus to make it a little bit easier to see. And here we have the 35 observations. And what iNaturalist is doing is, you might have seen it said loading metadata here. It's loading up the timestamp of the photo as well as the location that the photo was made in here. So that's automatically populated by iNaturalist. Now what you want to do is combine photos into an observation and identify them. And the way that you can do that is by, for example, these two images are the same observation, and I can just drag this photo over here onto this one, and it becomes one observation with two photos in here. And there's some really neat things you can do here. For one, you can press this magnifying icon and get a much closer view of the image that you have there. And then you just press the X to go back in here. And the other thing that you can do is, if you made a mistake and you added a photo to another observation that shouldn't be there, what you can do is just drag it out of that observation here, and it becomes its own observation again. So the drag and drop capabilities here are really very neat. And now we're back to our two images. The other thing you can do is this, for example, I know is not an observation. It's just a sign I wanted a picture of. And so you can press this X button up here at the top and remove that observation. So that's pretty neat. I also don't want this image, so I'm just going to remove that there. And you can do a lot of that. Generally, that's what I do, is I just combine a lot of the images so that I have the observations that I want. And then what you want to do is identify your observations. And the way that you do that is simply clicking in the species name box, and it pulls up the machine learning algorithm to show you its suggestions. And I do know that this is Virginia Spring Beauty, so I'm going to select that. And this observation is almost good to go. The one thing that we do want to do with all these observations is add them to the Pennsylvania Master Naturalist Project. And so over here, you can further modify this observation by adding tags to it or attaching it to projects, among other things. So what I'm going to do here is just click the projects part. And these are all the projects that I'm a member of. So I'm just going to select Pennsylvania Master Naturalist. And now this observation is going to be submitted to the Pennsylvania Master Naturalist Project here. And I'll show you in just a sec. We can do anything we do over here, we can apply to all of these images or observations at the same time. So that'll be pretty neat. I think generally what you want to do is get all your observations all set and then add them to the appropriate projects. So let's just do that. I'm just going to quickly go through and add a bunch of photos together to make observations here, and then identify them. Okay, so I've combined my photos into these 10 observations, and now I'm just going to go through the process of identifying them here, which again, using the AI is pretty simple. Clicking in the box, and I'm pretty sure this is pitch pine here because of the 3 needles that it had. So I'm going to select that. Okay, and here's a good example of one where the AI did not find this observation correctly. This is an American beach, and it actually did find it down at the bottom here, but I want to use this as an example of if it doesn't find the species that you're looking for, what you can do is simply type it in here. So I'm going to type in American beach, and just type in enough so that it finds it in here, and then select that, and you're good to go there. All right, so I've got my 10 observations here, and I could submit them as is, but what I really want to do is add them to the Pennsylvania Master Naturalist Project, because that is required if you want to get credit for doing some service that way. In addition to just, it's a good thing to do because it helps with the funding and things like that, the number of observations that we have. So what I'm going to do is select all these observations and then go back over here to the, I don't know what you call this, pane on the left, and select the Pennsylvania Master Naturalist Project. You'll see it's already selected here for one of the observations, but I don't think it's actually added to all of them, so I'm just going to select it again here. So click in the box, select Pennsylvania Master Naturalist, and so that should be applied to all of them. And in fact, if you just deselect and select one of these over here, we'll see that it is. It is in the Pennsylvania Master Naturalist Project right there. So a little tough to tell there. So, but I think we're good to go here. So all you need to do is press this button, submit 10 observations. And it will bring you to your observations page when it's done. And there you go. And that's all there is to it.